Good Vach, everyone. I hope you had a wonderful Shabbos. Shabbos Truma. Everybody's giving their good point that which they have to give and nobody has. Okay, so Bezat Hashem, we're going to start with the story about the Baal Shem HaKadosh. As we know, stories of the Baal Shem Tov. It's a Shabbos, it's a Segula for Bracha, the entire Shabbos. Each last week, Bezat Hashem. So, the daughter of the Baal Shem Tov, her name was Mas'odo. And she had two sons and one daughter. And the name of that daughter, the granddaughter of the Baal Shem HaKadosh, was called Fega. As Fega had a son who was called Rabbi Yisrael Mess, the dead. So the dead. How does a person get to be named the dead? So Fega was the daughter of the tzadikim Mas'odo, and after her marriage, she got married. She didn't have any children. And she asked her grandfather, who was still alive at that time, to promise that she'll have a child, a son. And after Baal Shem HaKadosh was Mustalik, she had the son called Israel, after the Baal Shem HaKadosh. And when the child was 2 years old, he became very ill and he died. So his mother took the dead child on her hands. She put him on the tzion of the Baal Shem Tov, her grandfather. And she said, Zaidi, is this the son that you promised me? And she left the dead son on the tzion and she went home. And afterwards, people came to the tzion of the Baal Shem Tov to daven there, and they saw a live child crying, sitting on the tzion crying. They had no idea whose child it was. How did he came there? They came back to town, to Mezhivos, and took the child with them. And, they told everybody they found this boy. Till his mother found out, and she came, she took. The child was alive and healthy, Baruch Hashem. After that incident, the Baal Shem HaKadosh has shown itself to Masfega and told him, if I would come, if only you would have come to my graveside, HaKadosh Baruch Hu would have helped you also. You have caused me a great upheaval because the neshama of the child has already got mixed with thousands and hundreds of thousands of neshamas. It was a big tircha for me to find, a different neshama instead of him. And I found a neshama of somebody who passed away, and I put it back in the body of the child. That's why from that moment they called the boy Mess, and his face were very pale, like that of a dead person, until the end of his life. It's a very known story. So that's the story of the Baal Shem HaKadosh, and just giving life back to a person who passed away was a huge miracle, obviously, but perhaps not as big as giving life to a life body, meaning taking people like us and waking them up from their spiritual slumber. So here is a it's a rather long letter that the Baal Shem and Emunim wrote it. It says to my friend Yidid Hashem, Yidid Nafshi, Vagoy Nachorif, Tzadik Va'onov, Pinchas Michoel, Antipoli. Says I'm going to tell you a Moyed Kemaisa, and Mistama, you should not, reveal it to anybody. And just take this letter and hide it, or else tear it to pieces so that nobody will find out. It says in the night before in Erev Yom Kippur, when I was learning my Kvodika shir, I fell asleep, and in my sleep, I saw a splendid person with gewaldige, turpanim, and of old age. And as I looked at him, I was staggered, and he held my hand and says, "Malach nirdam, what are you, a sleeping person? Kum ka'al call, get up and call Hashem." This is a pasuk from Yoino, when he was asleep in the boat, and the captain woke him up. He says, "Malach nirdam, what's going on with you, sleeping head?" And I woke up and I saw it was a dream. And I said, okay, and this is just a dream, Dreams, dreams are nonsense. But still, my heart was like, I wasn't 100% sure. I went to sleep to my bed, and in my dream, that person came to me again. And there were two people with him. And these two people told me, you should know this is a true dream. And he says, don't despair. And I looked, what's going on here? And this amazingly, glowing person told me, he says, check out your deeds. See what's going on with you. I'm coming to you as a messenger from Olam Ha'elon, from Olam Haba. And I strengthened myself, and I said, "What is the shlichus? What is the message?" And he says, "Because I said it so loud," I says, "I woke up, and I saw it was a dream." Again, I said to myself, dreams do not add, do not detract, but still, he says, my heart was hemming and hawing on it, and I was very scared, and I did not sleep that night anymore. Yom Kippur, I cried a lot, such a cry that usually I do not cry. And I didn't know, what is this crying that I'm crying so much? He says, maybe it's because of the dream. I'm crying because the heart knows. And I didn't have another dream until Shmini Atzeres. And I slept in the sukkah, the way this was my minute. And in the middle of my sleep came that same man again, with white clothing. And I staggered, looking at his amazing beauty and his awesome countenance. And he says, because of this crying that you cried on Yom Kippur, it worked for you. So they sent me to tell you that you will be able to cancel a decree. So I said, I don't know what I'm supposed to cancel, what kind of the decree. And this man just just stood still, and he was quiet for about 15 minutes. And I started crying in my dream, and I said, I don't know, what is this huge sin that I have sinned? Until they're sending me messengers from the Olam Elyon, and I cried a lot in my dream until, from crying so much, I woke up, and I didn't say to myself anymore that this is empty dreams. And during the day and Shmini Atzeres, I was in big simcha. I didn't know what is the simcha. I've never ever had such simcha. A simcha story when I was asleep on my bed, in the middle of my sleep, in my dream comes that person again, and he came to me and says, "Until when am I going to be troubled to leave my exalted place to come to you?" From that moment on, I was mischazik. This is a Torah and the Tanoim and Moraim that I learned. And I asked you, and I told him, I'm begging you, please tell me, what is this entire Sichos, this entire, please explain it to me in a way that I'll be able to understand it. So he went with me to this beautiful, pleasant room that was, decorated with jewels that the eye, and he says, sit, my son. And I said, and I'll tell you what is the secret of the shlichus. And I sat there, and she says, I'm telling you, I'm revealing some secrets to you. I am Rabbi Yehuda ben Lev, that we told stories about him last week. And when I was in this world, I sat on a kisadin to judge between one person and another. And two people came to me about the certain mishpat, and one of them came out the chayev, and he would not listen, would not accept tzaddik, because he was a very forceful person. And I warned him. And they came out, and he came to me, and he, slapped me. And he says, and this Inyan is engraved on his bones until today. And there's no chance for him until this day. He says, that's why it is incumbent upon you that you are from his offsprings, to fix him so that, so he can get out of the predicament he's in. He says, I was stunned. I was like a stone. He says, afterwards, this Mari ben Lev touched my mouth and he said, why are you still? I started crying a lot. I didn't know how do I fix him? I don't know how to fix. I don't have any knowledge in Yehudim and stuff like that. So Mari ben Lev said, you should know, it was decreed upon you that you should buy the Sedes Chuvas Mari ben Lev and learn it constantly until it'll be, you'll be fluent by you, beginning to end. That is the thing that's going to elevate that particular forefather of yours, and to be able to go from one madrega to the next. I told him, what is this from one madrega to the next? So he said in a soft way, he says, what do you care? This is not your business. What is from one madrega to the next? So he said, how long should I learn Chuvas Mari ben Lev? Because until you'll be fluent in it, it will be something that you'll know it by heart. It says no less than 4 years. And besides that, you have to learn all your regular shurim, it's a vaheter, dinamaminus, but you have to learn it for at least 4 years. So he said, but I don't have the Chuvas of Mari ben Lev. So he says, so go look to buy it. He says, well, just one thing I'm letting you know, that you have to buy a dafka by the Rav of Antipolia, that he has, this forum of the shoot of Mari ben Lev. He says, why Dafka this Rav? And I woke up from my sleep and I said, I mean, maybe it's not, dreams always have things that are not necessarily, it's like this is maybe it's just a not important detail in the dream, not to buy dafka from the place. And then I became very busy. And I started looking for some people that will get this book for me. And for 22 weeks, that man came to me again. And he told me with very, very sharp diburim. He says, why are you hesitating? Why are you waiting? Doing what I said. He says, I'm looking for it. He says, I told you to buy dafka from the row of Antipolis. And he says, what's the time? Why should I buy dafka from him? He says, because you were mishamish the row of Antipolis. You started by him. So this you are a messenger. This you are zecher to be a messenger to him, to get to him. Now, I'll tell you this Indian. So you should know that by this Rav of Antipol, there are certain things above because he started to prepare himself to print Chidushim on the Gemara, on Maseches Tmura and Maseches Me'ila. And I don't remember if he told me Tmura and Me'ila or Me'ila alone, I don't remember. And he did not bring it to fruition. He did not print it. He did not publish it. And that's why he has to rectify this Kabbalah of his. So with the money that he will receive from you for Tshuvas Mari Ben Lev, he will start preparing himself to bring his Chidushim to print. So I said, what's the reason for that? So again, he told me, don't get into these inyan. This is not your business. And then he repeated it, and he scolded me. Laman Hashem, immediately do as I told you. Don't change from whatever I said. If you'll do this, it'll be good for you, it'll be good for others. Because of this voice, I woke up, and I the next day I wanted to send a special messenger to you to tell about this entire Indian. But I had to stay, I had to take care of some things, Tzachet Tzibor, that I was busy. And last week when I went to sleep, because of my tsar, his wife that was became very sick. Again, Mari Ben Lev came to me and he said, you should know, this is the last warning that I'm giving you. The illness of your wife, he said, is a sign for you because you're lazy. You're not doing what I told you to do. Man Hashem immediately sent to this Rav and buy the tshuvas from him, my tshuvas from him. And you should learn it until you'll be fluent in it. And I woke up, very startled, very scared. Immediately I hired a shaliach, to you. He's writing to this Rav. I just found that this person who's bringing this letter to you is going to you about a certain Indian. So please, my teacher and Rebbe, please have rachmanos on me, and send me the tshuvas of Mari Ben Lev, and as much money as you want, I will pay you. Just send it to me, and I will start making the tikkun. This is for his wife, because she's in great sakana, Shem Yerachem. So I asked you, to please daven for her, and he signed this letter. So how much musik comes out of this particular story? How much a person needs to fear being chutzpahdik. This person that was chutzpahdik to Rabbeinu Yosef ben Lev, besides the horrible destruction that he brought to the people of his town that we learned last week, we saw hundreds of years later still didn't have a tikkun. Shabbos Baruch Hu will have rachmanis on us, on Klal Yisrael. That Hashem will be zocher to make tshuva shlema with that Hashem. And now, B'ezrat Hashem, we're going back to the autobiography, the biography of Rabbeinu Ariz. So, as we said, that Ariz started learning with the David ben Zimra, the Ritbaz, and he learned, but the Ritbaz was 80 years old, he was over 80. He saw the great Kishrenis and this wide mind of Yitzchok, his Talmud, the Shemaim. He told Rabbi Betzalel Ashkenazi, one of his best Talmidim, to be a teacher and a guide to the boy. Immediately, he took it, and whatever it is that he learned from the Ritbaz, he taught to Rabbeinu Arizal, and his star started going up in Egypt. And Mordechai Francis was extremely pleased by his nephew. His name, became greater and greater. Everybody knew who he was, and obviously everybody wanted, to make a shidduch with him. But it was a bit strange to them. How come nobody spoke to them about this? The truth is that Ramach himself had a daughter who was a tznuah and chasuda, Noah B'midas, Noah Maisim, Tagat Chochem. He was a daughter of Nedivim, going to Chasodim, and it was an open secret. And Mordechai wanted very much that Rabbi Yitzchok, his nephew, will marry his perfect daughter. And who would think of suggesting a shidduch, to a different shidduch? When Arizal was 15 years old, and his uncle called him and asked him if he's willing to marry his daughter. And the boy did not wait even for a minute. Everything was in his cousin. And besides the fact that he was grateful, Garasatov, they took him to his house. What's the shayla about it? It's a covered and pleasure. They asked the girl, and obviously, she said yes. She was Baruch Hashem. She had the chassan allow on all our daughters such a chassan. And they got married, and all the great people of the congregation of Alexandria, I think it was, they all came. A lot of people from the government came. The uncle knew what kind of a treasure his daughter was without. His simcha was without, and he obviously decided he accepted for himself, to give all the everything that the couple needed, all the parnasa. His nephew is to sit and learn Torah. In a very short time after his marriage, Ariz started learning Torah together with Rabbi Betzalel Ashkenazi, following the order, the directive of the Ritbaz. And, Rabbi Betzalel was already, considered one of the great Rabbanim of Egypt, and with great spiritual influence. And he was his main teacher. Who was he? Who was Rabbi Betzalel Ashkenazi? Betzalel Ashkenazi was, his father was Rabbi Avram. He was born Reish Pei. He was from a very, very miyuchasdik family in Ashkenaz. That's why when their children were settled in the Levant, in the East, Middle East, they were called the name Ashkenazi. Together with his family, his uncle is called the great rabbi of Ashkenaz, Rabbi Yitzchak Betzalel, Mishpacha Betzalel. The cousin of Rabbi Betzalel Ashkenazi was married to the father of the Baal, the Turazov, and one of his granddaughters of that uncle was married to the Marshal. Just, for me, it's interesting to see this because both the Taz and the Marshal are my forefathers. So during his youth, Rabbi Yitzhak Ashkenazi was in Eretz Yisrael. He was chaver of the great Mekubal and poet Rabbi Yisrael Najara. And when he was still a boy, his family went to Egypt, and he learned by himself the Chorale together with his friend Rabbi Shimon Kastilatz. And they continued learning in the yeshiva of the Ridvaz. This yeshiva was Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Tzalel, the Arizal, and with the three only Ashkenazi Talmidim in the yeshiva. And later on, they actually, headed the Ashkenazi Kehillah in Egypt. And the Rabbi Tzalel Ashkenazi, he wrote two very famous Sforim. One of them was Shelos Tshuvas Rabbi Betzalel, was all the responses that for the questions that came to him. And the second one is Asef Eskenim, which is known in Klal Yisrael today. It's called Shitza Mekubetzes. Mekubetzes is one of the basic Sforim in the hands of every learner. It's all the Shitas of the Rishonim, their derech, their opinions, and learn the Gemara and understanding it. Of all the Rishonim, according to Maseches Hashas, Betzalel, didn't just, wrote down their words, but also explained them and expounded on them. In Yonim, there were some mistakes. He corrected it, and he helped Talmidei Chacham understand the sugyos in the Gemara, in depth and in width, according to different shitas. And without the Sefer, a lot of the Rishonim, the Divrei Rishonim, today wouldn't even be ours to the Shita Mekubetzes. Everybody who learns Gemara knows Shita Mekubetzes. So we have the Shita Mekubetzes on Brachas and Beitza and Adoram and Soita. And the most famous ones is Ksubis, Baba Kama, Baba Metziim, Baba Basra. He also made it on Shavuos, Chilin, Chulin, and Gitin, instead of Kodshim, Soita, and Noza, but we haven't seen them printed, and they're still in manuscript. When he was still a Talmud, still learning in yeshiva, great, slept very little, ate very little, because every moment was precious. And this he actually said upon himself. He wrote it in the Sefer Shut Rabbi Betzalel. He says, the Esek Gemara has engraved me from my youth, the days of my youth. For days, I have stayed awake at night, and how many meals I have missed. On Esek Gemara, sacrificing my fats and my blood, I put it in the Torah. And this is how he grew up and became Baki Niyama Talmud, Shita Mekubetzes, Shonim, First Shonim, Achronim, a Torah giant that was handpicked by Rabbeinu Aradvaz to be the teacher and guide to the young Rabbi Yitzchak the Ariz. Up to here from the biography of Rabbeinu Ariz. Now let's take a look at Sichos Haran this week and take a little look at what's going on here. to 166, 167. He says, I heard from his name that he said that the the people think, that since I am the grandchild of the Baal Shem Tov, this is why I was Zechet on Madriga. And he says it's not so. This is not why. Because it was some one thing that because of it I was able to to go up and get to what I was able to get. Ein Zach is Mergira. And he said in 167 gives a little bit of a glimpse to what that one thing is. In that which Chazal said that a sigh breaks the body of a person. He said by him, this was actually like this, when he was working very hard, he was turning very hard away to Hashem when he was young. Sometimes he would sigh with all his might, and then he would test himself, he can lift his hands, and he couldn't even lift his hands because his body was like totally stricken by the anocha, by the sigh that he sighed. Reb Nosson said, Gemara, how much Rabbeinu learned, he said, Baruch Hashem, I learned too. Daven says, Baruch Hashem, I daven too. He says, but the one thing, he says, how can I ever be Yoitze Rabbeinu's Tmimus? The simplicity with which Rabbeinu served the Kodesh Baruch Hu. We all want, to serve the Kodesh Baruch Hu with tremendous avodas, when we're dreaming about, okay, if I were to be an Oved Hashem, what would I do? I'll maybe wake up Chatzois and daven vasikin and go out to the field and Yehudim and daven vasikin with all my koyach and so on and so on. Alavai for you, for me, for everybody. But there's one nekuda that we have to understand that overrides everything. Actually, two of them. The first one is Baruch Hashem, Rabbeinu was already in the world. And the Kedusha of Rabbeinu and the Koyach of Rabbeinu is a real thing. It's not less real than the ground that you are walking on. And when you're hooked up with the tzaddik, when you're connected to the tzaddik, all you need to do is do whatever it is that you can do with total simplicity. Do everything you can. A person can be caught, and it's something that, it's cyclical. It can be cyclical. A person suddenly is flushed, can be flushed with thoughts, forbidden thoughts, immoral thoughts, and you don't want it. It comes back in, and you don't want it. You want to wake up in the morning early to go to shul, and you can't get up. You want to daven bekavona, you can't even say the words out loud. You want to learn, and you can't concentrate. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, it comes out either backwards or half-baked, or you're not able to do it. This is your avodah. This is what you're supposed to do. Simple. Your life is the Sipurey Maisius of your life. This is what you are the hero in this this novel that is called your life. The things that you are facing is not a coincidence. This is the thing that you need to tackle for your tikkun. Rabbeinu is with you. The thing is that, don't come up with all kinds of conclusions. I'm no good, or I'm fantastic, or whatever it is. Don't give yourself any marks. If there's a bad thought that comes to your head, just push it out. If all you can do is just learn, really quickly, do that. If sometimes you miss something and then so do that. If you can only daven for a certain amount of time with hardly even noticing what are the words that you're saying, sometimes catch a little piece here of the davening, a little piece there of the davening, maybe Ashrei, maybe Boshama, whatever it is, and say that word for word. Simple, tmimis, pshitas. That's what Rabbeinu says. This is the thing. This is the thing. As an Rabbeinu to become what he became. Zat Hashem, we have a gewaldige month that we are going through. Zat Hashem, a gewaldige week coming. Baruch should give us all health and wealth and bracha and atzlacha. And Bezat Hashem, we'll meet whoever it is that is able to meet us here on Monday night, learning Sipurey, and Wednesday, and it's Hashem, Haran, Thursday. Bezat Hashem, well, a gewaldige week. Thank you so much for being here, because otherwise I would have been all alone. That's not okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. All the best.
Call to everyone.